Shemai, hi there. I'm here on the Spectrum VT sofa, and thank you very much. And I've got two wonderfully talented guys either side of me. In the blue corner, Mr. Anthony Banko.
Hello.
And in the red corner, the irresistible Mr. Paul Black. Now, we're here tonight to talk about the latest sensation to come out of Merthyr, which is the film of Knuckles. Welcome to the Full Spectrum Project Lounge. We're here in the Model House Castle in Merthyr Tydfil, and I'm delighted to say I've been joined by the wonderful Paul Black and the equally amazing Mr. Anthony Banko.
Hi, Anthony. You equally amazing person, you.
Okay. Let's crack on with a couple of questions, just so the audience can get a grasp of where you're at the moment, what you've been up to, and what's going to happen next, okay? Banko, how would you describe your style of art or creativity, and how have you got to where you're at now?
Just have a question. I think I just write whatever's in my head, really. It's all reasonably new to me. I wrote books when I was 40, first book I ever wrote. Just went on from there, wrote 20 odd books since. Then 6 years ago I wanted to write a play. Went to see a lot of plays when I was 20s and 30s. And I think you start trying to copy people, when you're doing anything. And I think then you get to a point you go, I'm not going to copy anybody, I'm just going to do whatever that is in me.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. And some of it, I wouldn't say upset people, because I don't think we've had many complaints compared to what we've had. I went to see the Book of Mormons the other day. That make my stuff look like it go the good life, to be honest. So I just write whatever's there, and it's funny because when I'm finishing one thing, just about to finish it, something else pops into my brain. So remember I read my second book, Siege of El Rancho. It's all about Merthyr and drugs and all this type of stuff. And as it was finishing, I just thought my next book is going to be about a spider and fly falling in love in Dublin. That's what I wrote. It just pops up, whatever pops in there, really. It's bizarre. It's a train going on my head. And it stops at what station and then take it from there. I don't know what Paul thinks of my style of whatever.
I can't stand it. I'm just I'm like become his Johnny Depp to his Tim Burton. I think he can't but not have me in stuff. It's like,
Right, yeah.
That does keep threatening me, mate.
No, I love it. It's great. It's just out there. I think it's the way a lot of people would like to think, and probably the way a lot of people would like to write.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's a great degree of freedom in
absolutely,
in what you
we
do.
both from a punk rock background, anyway, so I think that lends itself a lot to sort of the malicious sort of way of writing and the anything goes type thing, and I think that showed in the early days of Merthyr Rag, which is where a lot of the Wizard of Goodmar stuff came from, and George is, everybody was saying, and I George and Merthyr at that time, and that's what a lot, I was away, so I came into the fray at that point early, so then, and I back in Dublin, and then I came back, and it was like, right, the rag had stopped, but we're going to do this, like we'd done a radio play as well, didn't we? And it was, that's how we started sort of, we've known each other for years, but then it is right in from the radio play, and then we started putting these adverts in the radio play as well, which is, and I was voicing all these characters, and it was so, what do you call them, the snowflakes of this day and age, of the PC brigade would have a field day,
Yeah.
I think I try to write. I take a piss out of things, but I try not to take a piss out of individuals or people, if you know what I mean. I think that's really important. And it's a privilege to me, and I write something in my back garden, have a glass of wine, and then I give it to you guys, because you've been involved in my stuff, and you guys take it to that next level. And I just sit at the back and just smile and masturbate.
Cop out. Absolute cop out.
It's over to you now.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys taking stuff up up a level, and can we do this and can we do that, and it's amazing for me.
Yeah,
I'm so privileged to you take my madness into something which we can entertain 300 people every night and then laugh from start to finish, which is amazing.
Yeah, that is superb.
So bringing it right up to date now then with the latest sensation, Knuckles. So how much of that then was written with Paul in mind, and how much input did you have into developing that character, Paul? So that's a bit of a...
Well, I'd like the idea of just, not giving the plot away because you're doing the play now, which we'll talk about later on, of people in the UK especially were getting paid just to cause chaos, to keep the economy going. Because if you didn't have violence, you wouldn't have policemen, ambulance men and all this type of stuff. So that idea, and somebody would give me a letter every week. And then I took it into experiences I had or I knew about growing up in Merthyr. So it's really about in Knuckles, it's about 4 or 5 different little stories, and they're all to do with, you know, one is, I used to go to the Vulcan when I was a kid, I was 17, 18, and there used to be people there walking to the Vulcan and they would just punch anybody who was in there just to cause violence. It was scary, you know what I mean? And the one story was Paul, your father. So
for me, that Knuckles came around from a play we did called Breathe. Not long after that, I experienced tragedy that's been in my family that's been sort of well documented, and I was in bands, I enjoyed singing and had reasonable success with that, and the last time I performed was Merthyr Rising with 10 Paul Black. I played drums for him, funny enough. And my little girl Pearl was in the crowd. So I didn't do anything, and then just I felt something stirring after a couple of years. And for some reason I came across the script for Breathe, where Knuckles' character was a small part of a journey of all sorts of different people intertwining stories. And I immediately identified it because I'd already played that character, who was then called Thug. He wasn't even a name, he wasn't a character. He was just part of another thing, then another entity, you know. So I phoned him, I said, "Would you write me something? I need to perform." Even if it's just for us, and I identified with Thug. And we went away and came back with stuff, and we sort of developed the character together. But I mean, it was basically there what he'd written, you know. So the story was so good. It was just all those characters just came flooding to the both of us. Really, there's a scene in it with domestic abuse. It's biopic that actually happened to me as a young child, you know, 8 to 9. So I directed that part in the film, and so that was very easy for me to tell.
Yeah.
And since I've been having a lot of therapy from the tragedy, a lot of things have opened up. That I've done this thing called a timeline, where you go from 0 to my age now, 53, and you've got to try and remember each individual thing. So a lot of these things that come up through my childhood and emotions I could pull upon and use and utilise for these characters, i.e. the mental torture as a child, the domestic abuse, and so a lot of this I could pull upon. So it was basically me using my experience in life and putting it towards what he'd written. I mean, I lived in London, I lived in Dublin, so the accents were pretty much part of the characters anyway, you know. And then as he was written, you know, we were able to incorporate Victor as a person going out and performing these atrocious acts just for kicks by being somebody else. You know what I mean? He was he's some evil sort of dude, you know.
Yeah.
I found it extremely cathartic as well.
Yeah, well,
being able to perform that level of violence without actually showing it,
yes.
and be able to get out that level of anger that I suffer with every day. So it's the only time. I recently done a Wales Online interview. When I read it back, it's actually stuck out to me. The only time I get any peace is when I'm on my motorcycle, or if I'm being creative again or performing. So it's become now a necessity for me to do this and continue performing.
Wow, fantastic. Well,
to be honest, being a writer is probably the proudest moment I had is when he phoned me up and said, "Will you write me something?" You know, he could have gone anywhere to anything, done anything, and he was like, you know, I felt like crying. I was so pleased.
yes.
And I wanted to write something which wouldn't leave him down. You know what I mean? If this, hopefully this play or film will be seen by somebody, and he'll be the next James Bond. You'll have to have a sex change.
Yeah. You say James Bond, but oddly enough, when I was very privileged to have been at the premiere, and I watched Paul, in the opening scene where he's at his retirement age, goes, and I thought, wow, Glenn Houston.
All right,
Yeah. And I'm even now I'm looking at you. Oh, look, a young Glenn Houston. So the makeup is fantastic as well. I think it's
Victoria.
Really,
Somebody ski.
Oh, right.
Done the sorry, Vicky. I'm really sorry. I love it a bit. Since you played the Nonsense Park as his partner, she was amazing with the makeup. I think you were telling me when they were at Halloween, they'd done their house out in for Halloween and all these like horrendous decorations and stuff, and there was 100 people turned up, and he was making all these hot dogs and everything. So she's right into this special effects makeup, and but like I say, it was we'd sit down in the dressing room, come on, and she'd apply the makeup within like 45 minutes. There was no checks. It was on, we were on a budget, and what she was able to come up with for that time. Because originally when we were talking to Tara, I'd like to have gone down the road if there was a budget of like prosthetics and creases, and Victor himself is in his 60s, he's in retirement age, the way she covered up all my tattoos and stuff was incredible.
Really clever.
Really good, yeah. So, and that again lended itself to and it came to the skinhead character. We actually added tattoos to him, we wrote skins on his head and love and hate on his fingers, so but she was brilliant.
But go back a step, so obviously Paul asked me to write something, we got involved, he told me some stories, so I went back and wrote some stuff. And it was going to be a play, you know what I mean? It was great to see Paul. It was obviously we fetched Neil in there. Neil is the director of all my stuff, and he's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it was great to see Paul smiling and laughing again. And then COVID came and just wiped that off again. And we'd sold a couple of nights out, and it was shit. And obviously we waited for 12 months of what was going on. Still didn't know what was going on with theatres. So a couple of months ago, I got involved with the Cha-Cha, which is Kevin Allen's film. So I was helping on that. And then I did a film called Home, which is one of my short stories, which is part of Breathe as well.
Yeah.
And then we said, what we do as a film? And we just thought, go on then. But then originally we were going to film it, like he was going to be on stage. So to have loads of cameras, you know what I mean? I fair play to Luke, Walters, who directed, came in to see us one day, and he said, let's do it we are. We went, we too much hard work. And it just worked. And there's still a bit of clipping to do off it, but I'm glad we went that way. And so now we got the play to follow on and got these stuff.
Yeah, it's obviously a great idea to do a film, because you've got a piece of work now there that stands on its own 2 feet, doesn't it? That can go off and do whatever he wants to do. You can always refer to it. You can pull it off the shelf. You can say, "Oh, look what we've done here," you know. As opposed to, I think Neil made the point in the Q&A. His big thing is live theatre, which I totally get. But once you've got a recording of something that you're really happy with as well, then equally that's
I think that's great. As you said, when we celebrated, when we did the Wizard Girl one, all of us, we didn't know what people were going to what people don't do. I had my mother and father there, and my family, and my mother would go, what the fuck are you doing now? And so I don't know, 300 people in somewhere.
Yeah.
And as soon as they see the spotlight on the dog and then Ryan, everybody just laugh from start to finish, and it's the best feeling in the world.
Yes.
But the only thing is, when it finishes. When you've got something on film, like Home and Knuckles now, we got something there to take us through.
Yeah.
So
we were in rehearsals yesterday morning, and I struggled yesterday because the difference in, although they're rather long monologues anyway, that the character has to deliver, it's that I have to deliver as the character. Sorry, there were very few cuts in the film, so you know it's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
But yesterday, you got choreography now and stage management and things like that to go, and a lot of the script had been clipped in order to shorten it for film. But now all the old dialogue is going back in, so I've got to remember that again, and then different stage. Although there's very simple props, very simple set. And Neil said quite a poignant thing yesterday. There's only one take with the theatre, you know, and that's tough, like, because it's different to all the other stuff like Gurn, what we done. Oh my God, I love doing it. You were in one of my favourite characters you've ever done, and so from that, it's like there's a lot of other people interacting, but because it's just me on stage, this. But I suppose it's one of those things where if you got to do it, jump into the fucking deep end, basically, you know.
As George Michael nearly said once, something along those
yeah,
lines.
I was in the next cubicle over. Yeah, so I didn't hear what he said properly. I just heard the police turning up and I left.
Right.
So
hopefully it's going to take the audience on a roller coaster.
yeah.
You know, there's a little bit of laughter in it. There's some ooh. And it's I'm thinking, and I think hopefully people wake up the next morning and go, oh yeah, really start to think of it.
Yes.
So we had some Q&As after the film, and it was quite interesting.
We had some mental feedback.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And one girl on the second night was crying, and she, the first question was, I can't believe how actually I cried all the way through that. She said, but some people laughed.
She looked round the audience and said, how can you people be laughing at that? You know, and it was really quite shocking. You know, she was kind of having a go at everybody, so we had to calm her down, and then she said, but I've cried all the way through.
Yeah, so I see her a week later, but she suffered some domestic abuse as well.
Right.
She was really close to home with her, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't really, you know, we aim to make people cry for the rest of their lives, but we want
it evoked an emotion. So therefore,
so
I think with any piece of art, be it like art you have on the walls in your tattoos, songwriting, lyrics, poetry, if it evokes an emotion, you've done a good job. I would say, you know, it's like comedy, it will either make you laugh or cry. It's like the theatre masks, the tragic comic, that's why they're there, you know.
Yeah.
And I think if you evoke some emotion, be it positive or negative, I think as a performer, then you've done your job, I think, you know.
Okay.
So, and especially as a writer, you know, because you've drawn something out to somebody that they probably wouldn't necessarily want to go back to, or would think of going to at any given point, you know.
Yeah. Next for Goonwa, and for you, Paul, you know, is there a 5-year plan, or, you know,
as I said, you know, I dipped my toe into this, you know, a couple of years ago, I dipped my toe into the theatre world, which like I love now. You know, when you write a book, it's going to be very rare you'll ever see anybody reading your book. You know, it'd be great if you could see someone very cool reading your book and laughing, and you'd be, yes, it'd be very really. When you do theatre, you know, comedy or whatever, you get that emotion straight away. But the films, you know, the last 2 films I've done and the feedback we've had and the awards we've won, it's a real interesting medium. And you said the good thing is now you can do it, you don't have to have massive cameras and all that. The Cha-Cha was done on iPhones, you know what I mean? So, and we got so much talent in Merthyr. You know what I mean? Just need some money. You know, we don't get any money off the Arts Council or from the National Theatre of Wales.
Well, no, I mean, Knuckles was funded by the good people of Merthyr again. It was a GoFundMe, just give him the GoFundMe thing.
Yeah,
and it would, you know,
getting paid. stages.
Yeah.
I like that, you know, obviously got Johnny Owen who's doing really well, was a good input back never let down, but I want to write something with you guys and set in this which will compete with Twin Town, you know, compete with Train Spot and compete with Twin Town. And I've always said, you know, when I was involved with creating this, I want to find the next Richard Burton from the Girls. Because he's there, or she's there, you know what I mean? But we, you know, I lived in Douglas. I never had the opportunity to go see plays or that. I was shunned in school because I couldn't read. I could read, but I couldn't spell. My grammar was shit on the stairs, really.
Karen Jones made a very poignant part of the Friday in the Q&A. She said if it wasn't for Gurnwar, when we started with like the Wizard of Gurnwar and you know the early plays, that people now have started going to the theatre and enjoying it and started to go and see poetry. Luke Great wrote down and you know, so that to me was one of the biggest compliments. We started this thing just in Merthyr that people would normally not think about wanting to do, or even, you know, maybe even be frowned upon, you know. So bringing our outside influences to say, look, there's loads there, and it's all absorbable, and it's all yours. Just you know, go get it, go and create, you know.
Because it was quite interesting, wasn't it? Especially the early days of Gurnwar.
Absolutely,
where you had an audience.
It was brilliant.
You know, we fly by the seat of our pants and all that. And the same was true for the audience as well.
Yeah.
They'd come into something not really knowing what the ground rules were, how they should behave, what was allowed, what wasn't allowed.
Yeah. Funny enough is, you know, I think 80% of people come to see Gurnwar never do play before. They see it was a Gurnwar at least. And Phil John, the director, first director, was there with his wife. And I think she said this is what Shakespeare was like. People in the audience were getting drunk and they were shouting and screaming and getting involved. There was a lot of heckling, which you two could take off perfectly. There was things blowing up, there was things going wrong. But we got from A to Z in the end, how we got there. And then we used to go and get drunk, you know what I mean? And then move on to the next thing, and that was part of life. So, yeah, you know, talk about proudest moments is I think we have brought something like that to Merthyr. There's a play in Red House now, tonight. They've sold 15 tickets. We put a play out and it sells out within a week. You know what I mean? Which is great. You know, I know people know us here or whatever, I know all that, but it's still got a lot of work to do with Merthyr to get that culture, and people really going to enjoy stuff. Like I say, when I see Book of Mormons last week, it was great to see 2,000 people laughing at some of the most un-PC stuff in the world. But didn't, obviously it offended some people, but it was great. We've got to get back to that. You know, when people enjoy themselves. On a fine line at the moment. It's scary, to be honest.
So on that topic now then, Friday the 26th and Saturday the 27th of this month, so the last weekend of the month, is people's chance to go and see Knuckles in Red House. They can still get tickets, can't they? There's still a few tickets left.
And for each night. But then we'll see how it goes next year as well. We've got another play called Flying to the Moon, which I should have took to Edinburgh for the last 2 years, has been cancelled. So hopefully we'll start that as well next year. And we may do a double header where we put the both of them on. Knuckles and Flying to the Moon. One's a comedy, one is not.
Yeah, something for everyone.
Yeah, I need an agent now. So partly, that's my next plan. I've got nothing else acting-wise in the pipeline, but like I said, he's always right in.
And Sean Tudor Owen was there at the start of home, and you know, he was in Highlander and Twin Towers and all this type of stuff, and he couldn't believe Paul. He couldn't believe I'm going to agent. Kevin Allen said to me, I'll send this off to some top London agencies. So hopefully we'll go and see this man winning an Oscar in something.
Oscar the Grouch from Sesame Street.
And I'll write underneath it. A youngling Houston.
I want to see him collect his Oscar on his bike. It's not going to be over.
Fantastic. Hey, cheers, guys.
Thank you very much.
That feels like it's sort of wound up quite naturally, or are you fed up?
Oh,
Not at all, no.
my
Drinks
orange
for
squash
dry.
is gone, so maybe
Right,
another one.
that's
So
right.
that's a good.
Congratulations on what you're doing here as well.
Yes, it's
really
fantastic.
good, yeah.
Excellent. Well, obviously, we look forward to supporting you and hoping
Yeah,
Likewise, yeah.
Everything we
yeah,
do,
see some of the
nice to
full
see.
spectrum gigs as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you both very much indeed. Diolch yn
Thank
fawr.
you.
Thank you.